It's that time of year again, my friends. It's time to get up early, get dressed, take public transport, and go to the place where dreams are made. No, not Universal Studios, I meant uni. It's the start of the new semester, and I speak for everyone when I say that I dread the long tutorials, unwatched online lectures, and the excruciating tests. But what better way to prepare for uni than to buy yourself some new bling and tech to drag your ass through college or uni. So for those of you who are planning to buy laptops for uni, those of you who are freshies or undergrads just going into uni, this is a guide for you on what laptop you should buy. I'm your host Thiru, and this is Random Review Squad. Now, when it comes to using computers in school, we at Random Review Squad believe in three basic concepts. Firstly, lightweight. Campuses are big, traveling is a hassle, and some of you look like Ninja Turtles because you have huge, heavy backpacks with huge, heavy laptops, gaming laptops even. You have to carry them around everywhere to every lesson that you go to. And not only the laptop, but also the huge charging brick. Trust me when I say spending that few $100 extra for that portability and that lightweight laptop will go miles in making your day easier. And a lightweight laptop also means the charger is lightweight as well. So if you're bringing your charger along, it's not a hassle. Next is cost. More than it being dirt cheap, it should be worth your money. It should last the 4 years or 3 years, the length of the time that you are in uni. We understand that most students still rely on their parents to buy the laptops or the things they require for university. We just don't want you to buy a dirt cheap laptop and end up realizing in a year that the laptop is actually, well, dirt. And lastly, the features of the laptop have to be relevant. Battery life absolutely has to be long lasting to last the long lessons that you have. And things like trackpad, screen, and keyboard affect your entire experience with the laptop as well. So to sum it up, this is a video for you to use to fight your way into your parents' pockets. With logical reasoning, of course. Using our three conditions, we have broken down our recommendations into three schooling categories: arts, design and media, business and humanities, and engineering and sciences. Alright, so that's three different categories. So feel free to fast forward to the section that you are most related to so they can hear what you need to hear quickly. And of course, don't forget to go to the last segment to see what you need to take a look at before you purchase your laptop. First up, arts, design and media. Now usually for an art student, one would tend towards a Mac, which is still a good option till this day. So we suggest getting the MacBook Pro 13-inch with the 2.0 GHz 6-core 10th Gen i5 processor, which comes with Intel Iris Plus graphics, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, 512 gigs of SSD storage, Retina display, and 3 Thunderbolt ports. As an ADM student, display is life. The True Tone Retina 13-inch IPS display has an E-delta of 0.27, which is almost the most accurate display in the world or even in the market right now, with a color gamut of 125% sRGB. It's also a little higher resolution than the 2K Res screen with a pixel count of 2560 by 1600. Color accuracy is essential for ADM students, and the MacBook Pro 13 does the job fine. You would also require a good CPU and GPU to help you render your videos, to help you with video production, to run the huge apps in multiple applications. Thus, the i5 processor seems to be the best valued one, and the Intel Iris graphics would help the rendering of videos. Of course, these are only good for student level rendering and student level projects, so try not to use it for commercial purposes. Storage might become an issue in the long run because applications are pretty huge, but 512 gigs is actually pretty good since schools are providing cloud storage nowadays. So you can actually just save your project files on the cloud storage and the main applications on your computer itself. RAM allows you to run your program smoothly and also allows smooth playback through your video editing software without tapping into your SSD storage. 16 gigs of RAM is sufficient for projects that are 1080p or 4K, and also allow usage of background apps like note-taking apps and Safari, for example. Now the downside is MacBook comes with only 3 Thunderbolt ports, which means adapter galore. So I suggest get your adapters from shops like Shopee, Lazada and AliExpress, and make sure they are Mac compatible. The MacBook only has about 10 hours of charge, so I would suggest you bring your power brick along. Usually art design and media schools have studios, have computer labs, so there wouldn't be an issue of too little ports or too little plug points, so you can always just plug and play. Make sure to buy the laptop under Apple Education Store so that you can get it for about 2.5k. You also get free AirPods, 20% off Apple Care, and you save some money on accessories, but I'd suggest get accessories from elsewhere. If you're not someone who's a fan of Apple and you're already into Windows and Adobe, I would suggest you look at the XPS 13 2019 edition. It has almost the same specs compared to the MacBook, but it has a 4K resolution display, about 12 hours of battery life, and thankfully more ports than the MacBook. The presence of an SD card slot is major for students who are into photography or still use cameras, because most cameras nowadays still use SD cards as the main way of data storage and transfer. A DisplayPort and HDMI port means you can actually output your screen to maybe a more color accurate screen or an external monitor to improve your productivity, or even, just as a second monitor to play your games or whatnot. And of course, you wouldn't need adapters anymore because the ports are already on your PC. But of course, more perks means more money. So the XPS 13 2019 goes for about 2.4k, but their education offer would kind of shave off $200 to $300. So look forward to a pricing of about 2.2 to 2.1k. So just remember, don't forget to use the education deal. If you're an art student, I'm sorry, you gotta spend that little bit more to make sure you have a long-lasting laptop that does the job right. Next up, the business and humanities students. You guys will probably be doing long seminars and lectures and have a ton of presentations to do. Taking notes, watching lectures, presenting and keeping virtual documents is pretty much the main purpose of your laptop. For that, we suggest a 13.5-inch Surface Laptop 3 with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. The 13.5-inch Pixel Sense display is perfect for writing down notes and multitasking using the pen. It has a display resolution of 2256 by 1504, which is slightly more than the 4K resolution screen. There's no need for any discrete graphics or high computing power, which means you can actually trade it off for price and portability. The Surface Laptop 3 weighs in at about just under 1.3 kgs, and the Platinum model is lighter than the matte black one for some reason, probably because the material is different. 256 gigs of storage is more than enough because you can actually just store most of your documents in the cloud storage that the school gives you. And since it is a Microsoft product and most schools give OneDrive as the cloud storage option, it should be well integrated, and storing and taking things out would be pretty easy. Now usually I would suggest 16 gigs of RAM, but 8 gigs is enough in this case. Just take note that you shouldn't overload on Chrome tabs. Google Chrome is a RAM hogger. The Surface Laptop 3 also has about 10 hours of battery life, so it should last through a school day. But if you are going to be going to the library and going to start mugging, then I'd suggest you bring a laptop charger along. And since it's already so light, the laptop charger adding a little bit of weight isn't much of a big deal. Now the downside is that due to its beautiful design and slim form factor, it's got very few ports, which means once again, adapter galore. And it is important that you get adapters because when you're presenting, you're going to need a HDMI port, you're going to need VGA port, whatever you need, right? And you can get those ports or adapters on AliExpress, Shopee and Lazada. Just make sure they are Windows or Surface compatible. The price comes up to about 1.8k with the pen. So it's a pretty good deal, and make sure you use the student store. Some of you may decide on getting an iPad instead. I mean, you can, it's good. In fact, it's perfect for the job, but this is a laptop video, so. Next up are the engineering and sciences students. Engineering and sciences students require high computing power for the heavy applications that the schools require them to use and the rendering that they may have to do. Also, a computer that is sturdy and is able to withstand the environments that they work in, able to withstand a little bit of throwing around, and all the additional ports plugging in and out in their computers. Therefore, we suggest the Lenovo ThinkPad T14 AMD version with the AMD Ryzen 5 Pro 4650U processor and customized specifications of 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, and the 250 nits FHD screen. ThinkPad is a sturdy and sleek laptop weighing only about 1.5 kg, with a long-lasting battery life of about 11 to 16 hours depending on what you do. It's got the most addictive keyboard, so programmers, you're in for a treat. The FHD display is more than enough for engineering and sciences students, and it's also to help with the battery life, so FHD displays take up less power compared to higher resolution displays. The AMD Ryzen 5 Pro 4650U is part of the new Ryzen 4 series and is seriously bang for the buck. A good CPU will help speed up computing tasks and running multiple applications at the same time. It's good to have large amounts of storage on board because your applications will probably take up a lot of space, and you should actually save your projects and your additional files in the cloud storage so that your main space is absolutely used for only programs. So in that sense, the 512 gigs is pretty sufficient. 16 gigs of RAM is absolutely necessary, and it'd be better if you could get more, because huge amounts of Chrome and using all these multiple applications are pretty RAM heavy, so it is important that you have a lot more RAM. You could get by on 8 gigs of RAM if you don't, overuse Chrome, but I would suggest 16. The T14 has ports like no other. A HDMI 2.0 port, 2 USB-C ports, 2 USB 3.1 ports, a micro SD card reader, and even an Ethernet port. Which means your computer is like a tech hub that you bring along with you, with no need for adapters whatsoever, and you will always have spare ports to plug in whatever extra appliance or board or microprocessor or whatever that you need to plug in during your lessons and your school projects. I would argue that one requires discrete graphics for rendering, especially on programs like AutoCAD. But the Radeon Vega integrated graphics is more than enough to do your rendering on the school project level, and you don't need accelerated rendering unless you are in the commercial sector or you're doing something for a side job. Remember to get 3 years warranty, which is only $15, and uncheck the external monitor and the dock option when you're customizing your PC. Lenovo is a little sneaky on their part by adding those two even before you choose it. And also get a backlit keyboard and fingerprint sensor if you need to. The laptop should cost about 1.7k, and if you use the student code, you should be able to get $100 off, about there. Alright, so you'll be around 1.6k. Okay, since we've covered the majority of the uni courses, I would like to tell you guys about some important things that you need to look out for when you're buying a laptop. First off, my recommendations are solely based on a student's perspective and also what's currently in the market and available right now online on the stores. Some of you may have other agenda like gaming or portability, or you just want a damn good looking laptop. So do take those into account and make your choices accordingly. You can take this guide as a start point and then you can build up from there. Next is support. Always check what that company's support is like in this country. Not the USA, not the UK, not some review in some other country. You need to check what support is like locally in Singapore. At least get a warranty for 2 years and check what the 2-year warranty entails. Support in different companies can be so far apart and so different from each other, and it kind of affects your experience of buying a product from that company. I'll share my story with you guys just so you can have a little bit of an example of what I mean. I first bought a Dell XPS 13 back in 2018 for my uni, alright? Luckily I bought it in June, and it came with a problem whereby it turned off randomly after 50% of battery life. So it just shut down randomly after 50%. I called Dell and said that their laptop had a problem, and their engineers told me, or their support told me that their engineers told them that there's no way to solve the problem other than doing an exchange, which would take about a month, and it's not for sure that the problem is solved, or doing a refund, which also take a month. So I decided, I'll get a refund, and I bought a ThinkPad. Now on Lenovo's end, I had issues with the laptop once or twice. I called them, they sent down a technician almost a day or two later, and he fixed it, no questions asked. Right? I didn't have to travel anywhere, I didn't have to pack anything, I didn't have to send anything anywhere. He did it in the house and he left. That's it. So that's my experience with Lenovo. The support was fast and it was handled pretty quickly. But of course, these are my very own experiences, and you guys may have a different experience. So I suggest you go and find reviews, online about the support and see how many people are actually complaining and how many people are actually, kind of saying that the support is good. Lastly, to reduce the overall cost, use apps like ShopBack to get cashbacks. From what I've seen, most of these sites have ShopBack enabled, and use the education stores to get yourself a cheaper laptop. Also, get your peripherals elsewhere, like on Lazada, AliExpress, and Shop, because most of these peripherals are much more expensive when you get them from the companies themselves. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it and you learned something from it, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, share it with your siblings, share it with your cousins, whoever is going into uni, whoever is planning to buy a laptop. Alright, get this out to them. They should know the importance of buying a good laptop. If you have any feedback or you have your own experiences on laptop buying to share, comment down in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm your host Thiru, and this is Random Review Squad.